take your franchise to the NBA Finals and possibly win the championship? Hell no. And there's no disrespect to them, but just think about the Utah Jazz and why they got to this point where they had to break up the team, why they had to trade their 3-time Defensive Player of the Year and Rudy Gobert. Okay, they had to trade them because guess what? It's time and time again we saw the Utah Jazz go into the regular season, have great success, and then what happened in the postseason? They failed. The Utah Jazz had over the last 3 years, they had one of the most complete rosters in the NBA. When you talk about depth, you talk about Mike Conley, you talk about Bogdanovich, who's a sniper, who averaged 20 points per game, a guy that could play the 3 or 4 and mix it up. You had Royce O'Neal, who's considered a 3-and-D guy. You added Jordan Clarkson, who's a guy that won 6th Man of the Year, offensive weapon when it comes down to coming off the bench and getting buckets. They had a backup center and Whiteside. And what happened to the Utah Jazz? They failed. Every single time they got to the postseason, they failed. Think about not this past season, but the season before that. They lost to the Los Angeles Clippers when Kawhi went down. And look, credit to Paul George and Reggie Jackson and Pat Bev. They did their thing, but they were not the better team. And Donovan Mitchell was supposed to take them home. We saw what Steph Curry did. We saw what Jason Tatum had to do when he had to go into Milwaukee and down 3-2 and go drop 46 on Giannis to even the series up to bring a Game 7 back home. And when I look at the top-tier players around the NBA and guys that I would want to build a franchise with, Donovan Mitchell's name is not in that category.
I think you can win with him and build a franchise around him. What franchise are we talking about? So first of all, you don't always, he can move to, let's call it the New York Knicks for whatever reason, or go down and go to Miami, wherever he may be traded to, if those trade conversations are real. You got to get other players around him too, though, now. It ain't all on him. It just ain't all on him. If you think about it, he's a lot like Dwayne Wade was to a degree, right? They eventually had to go and get the big diesel as part of what they did in Miami, and Dwayne Wade was still the leader, and then they wind up getting that chip. So I think you can. It may not happen in Utah because you can't go get a free agent that wants to come to Utah to play. It's going to have to be a big city, and I think if you move him to a big city, that's certainly the case. And Donovan Mitchell is still young, man. Donovan Mitchell is not old. He's a very young player. So I'm looking at him and saying to myself, I think you can. Now, do you want to give up a whole lot to go get him is the question. Because you will deplete your team if you do that. I don't know what you shake your head at me for.
Yeah, because, Keith, like, for you to say, like, Donovan Mitchell, like, the Utah Jazz, in my opinion, I just named the players that he had around him. I just named how they dominated. I just told you how they dominated in the regular season and failed in the postseason. My thing is that when you have
but is that all on him? Is that him?
What you mean? How about taking us home? Take you home. What we saw Steph do when the team was down. Steph took you home. What we saw Luka do when their team was struggling and all of a sudden they knocked off the Phoenix Suns, the team that dominated the regular season. What we saw Luka do. Luka took them home. That's what I'm saying. Like Donovan Mitchell, has he shown you that he has that other gear to take them home? And they had a complete roster. Like with Joe Ingles and all those boys.
But I don't think that roster that he had is comparable to what Steph Curry had. You can't even compare the two. Perk, you know better than that. You know better than that.
I'm not trying to compare the two. We're talking about guys that's the head of the snake, Keyshawn. I'm not talking, and that's why I'm saying, do you put him in the same conversation with a Luka Doncic? Do you? I'm asking. Right now, do you put him in the same conversation with Luka?
Probably not, but Luka ain't won nothing either.
Oh, okay. I didn't say he did. I'm asking. You said probably not. Okay, cool. Do you put him in the same conversation with Joel Embiid? Come on. No, you don't. If you have to, okay, do you put him in the same conversation with Jokic? No.
Yeah,
Okay, so I didn't even bring up.
I'm not a Jokic guy, so
That's your fault. You don't have to be a guy, but you got to respect his game. You got to respect the two-time MVP. And I didn't even bring up Giannis. I didn't even bring up Kevin Durant.
But you talking about,
I didn't even bring up a third.
But you bringing me the top 5 dudes in the game. You bringing me MVPs in the top 5 dudes in the game.
Okay. Do you put them in the same cover? Okay.
Come on now,
okay.
Don't do me like that.
I brought Luka to you. I brought Luka to you.
Luka and them clipped the Suns. The Suns, look at the Suns stay getting clipped. Whatever that means, they stay getting clipped.
But you said you didn't. Do you put them in the same conversation with Ja Morant?
Yeah, I would probably put him in the same conversation with Ja. I would do that.
Oh man, stop it.
I would do that.
Stop it, Key. I just explained to you, man. And
I would do that. I'll put him in the same conversation with Ja, I mean.
You know deep down inside, if you was a general manager right now, that you're not drafted and you had a guy to pick at the guard position and you're not picking Donovan Mitchell to start your franchise. You know that.
If I'm looking for a smaller guard and I got a big guard to pair him with, I don't mind Donovan Mitchell.
You can't add. No.
What you mean I can't? You just made me the general manager.
No. The question is, can you build a franchise around can you build a franchise around Donovan Mitchell?
And I think
that
means you
can. Starting the team, you telling me that if you was a GM that you could put your faith in getting Donovan Mitchell and building a team around him and he gonna win you some championships.
Who else am I pairing him with, though, Perk?
Man, no.
You got to put him with somebody.
Perk, hold on. Let me ask you this, because he's averaged 20, as a guard his first 5 seasons. Only AI's done that. Did you just sour on him really this season and how it played out?
No, Molly. And look, let me averaging 20+ in today's game is nothing anymore. Like, we're talking about, think about it. Think about where the NBA is going. Think about how they just took away the takeaway foul or you get penalized a technical free throw, right? Mm-hmm. The NBA want high-scoring games.
But it is something that he's the only guard that did it in the first 5 seasons except Allen Iverson. Isn't that something?
That is something, Molly, and here's the thing. I'm not knocking Donovan Mitchell. I'm not saying that he's not a second option guy on a championship team. Ain't nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with being a Klay Thompson? Is something wrong with being a Klay Thompson? That don't mean that you're not going to the Hall of Fame. That don't mean that you won't be in multiple All-Star games. I just said I don't put him in the same category as a guy that I would build a team around as my number 1 option. Look, being a second option guy is still a hell of a thing on a championship team. Hell, I was a 5th option guy in my prime, and then I went to a 14 option guy. You know what I'm saying? A second option guy on the championship team that's getting max dollars, that's still a great talent.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if
what if you have a few second option guys, right? How about you got a few of them? You got a few, you make a team. You're so spoiled with these super teams. That's what it is. It's the super team. You're spoiled, Perk. You need that big blockbuster name. How's that even turned out?
No, Molly, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm asking y'all. All I'm saying is if you go and look at what the Utah Jazz accomplished in the postseason, they didn't do anything. All I'm saying is that if you take Luka and you put him with that team that Donovan Mitchell had with the Utah Jazz in the postseason, Luka Doncic would have won the NBA championship by now. You take Luka and you pair him up with a 7'2" center that's protecting the basket like Rudy Gobert and down there being a live threat of the basket and put him with a shooter like Bogdanovich and have Mike Conley running on the side of him with a Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench, Luka would have had an NBA championship by now.
Okay.
But you also talking about a different size guard too, man. Come on now.
Oh, man.
Come on now.
I understand that. That don't have nothing to do with the
work
talent.
With what you have. All right,
that got a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
They plan to. After all, this deal does nothing for them in 2022-23. It's become difficult to discuss Russell Westbrook without being critical. We'll try to start by being positive. He's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. With that said, it would be hard to claim he impacts winning by 2022. In fact, he demonstrably does not. Still, if the Jazz are launching a rebuild, that's not an issue for them. In that event, this deal frees up future cap space for them by swapping 2 veterans on longer-term contracts for one on an expiring deal. Donovan Mitchell gets a new wingman, Lakers add shooting. You are reading your third of 4 free articles. Subscribe today and unlock every story on C.com. Already subscribed? Log in here. Kevin Durant's request to play for a new franchise has gridlocked most of the NBA offseason. So until the Nets deal the best player they've ever employed, or decide no package is impressive enough to move on, here are a few thought-provoking fake trades to consider before the 2022-23 season. Lakers get Doug McDermott. Spurs get Talen Horton-Tucker, Max Christie and a 2023 second-round pick. Los Angeles Lakers Talen Horton-Tucker. Horton-Tucker struggled with the Lakers last season. Very little explanation is required here. The Lakers get one of the best three-point shooters in the world, a 30-year-old still in his prime on a decent contract, $13.7 million this year and the same amount in 2023-24, without sacrificing meaningful draft capital, while the Spurs get younger. McDermott is a career 40.9% three-point shooter who made 42.2% of his outside shots in 51 games with the Spurs last season. His season ended in March when he badly sprained his ankle in a game against the Pacers. Beside Anthony Davis, LeBron James and, for now, Russell Westbrook, he's an ideal complementary piece on the offensive end. McDermott moves well without the ball. He's restless and economical, curling into the paint off a dribble handoff or fading into a tough look out of a tight window,